Hello, everybody. Greetings and welcome. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Discussing Tabletop. Changed the format a little bit today. We're testing it out. We're seeing how it works. I hope all of you enjoy it here. I'm, of course, once again
You also
joined.
didn't pin the docket.
I
You
didn't
did
because I
forget to
didn't
do
put
that.
together a docket the same way
Oh,
today.
yes, you didn't.
Because the docket
True.
isn't necessarily the same. I'm going to figure out how I want to pin the docket from now on in the chat for people.
That's fair.
I think I'll provide links still for everybody in the chat, so you'll be able to see the links over here if you're watching over on, YouTube or afterwards or in the discussion. I'll put all the links for all the topics too. But, we're going to kind of do things a little different. I'm going to kind of we'll have some topics we'll dive into, some things that we're just going to kind of hit up a little bit, and then some of them, we'll kind of figure out what we want to dive into, what we don't for some of these things here. But, of course, I'm the main host here, Dracovin. Hello, and I'm joined by Worm and Momo today.
Hello.
So, we were actually getting into an interesting pre-show discussion there, which I think we can talk about a little bit here as I go into, because this is an interesting one. And here's the kind of thing I want to kind of hit up and have us chat a little about things before we get started and how everybody's weeks are. But so basically, Momo brought to me that there was a podcast talk about World of Darkness, and it's one of those things of surface level World of Darkness is hard to talk about. I'm not going to lie. If you're just kind of going into it, because you can go by two directions. You can kind of go by the mythology of World of Darkness, which is a whole lot of mess of, does this real or is it just somebody's story? Or you can go by just the setting and, I don't know. I think talking about World of Darkness might be a good thing to do at some point in time. I'm not going to lie, just in general. That might be a good topic to kind of hit up on. Where maybe for a topic, I'll kind of bring a little explanation on the World of Darkness and see what questions you folks have about it or something like that one of these times. That might be interesting to try out too. A little primer to discuss. But I guess where I want to start with is, how is everybody's weeks, and was there anything interesting you did? I guess I'll turn it over to Worm, you because you sound like you were trying out some games. Was there any other kind of media you go into, or was it just busy with hanging out? Games, shows, anything interesting that happened this week?
This week, no, it just was crazy. It was my sister's birthday.
That's nice.
And yeah, but no, I've been basically all my free time lately has been figuring out and researching stuff and trying to piece together the podcasts that I'm planning to make, which has been a whole thing. So that's where my brain has been.
I mean, that's a lot of work to do, and I can understand how that can kind of take you up, especially with, a job on the side and everything else you got to do.
Yep.
So, well, I'm glad you're making progress on that. How about you, Momo? Anything kind of interesting this week that stood out?
Well, I did a couple things this week. I went and saw 28 Years Later, Bone Temple. I think it's called Bone Temple.
How was that?
It is better than the first 28 Years movie.
Okay.
Because I know people didn't like. I personally did like that movie. I just know people didn't vibe with it. I think it's entirely was shot very weirdly. Because Bone Temple is a weirder movie, but it is shot like a contemporary film. There's no experimental filmmaking in it. It's a very standard horror action movie.
Okay.
I thought it was very good. It probably not going to be movie of the year for me or anything.
Yeah.
That's probably gonna go to Dune 3 when that comes out. I'm a big Dune fan. But besides that, I have been playing Arknight's Enfield, which dropped 2 days ago. Technically 3 if you played at 10 p.m. EST. It's interesting to finally play a gacha game I like.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's I've never been in that type of game, so I can understand.
Because I've tried. I think it's Zenless Zone Zero. I tried that before. a little too not like I don't want to like insult people who like the game because it is a well-made game. The character designs are a little too like horny bait for me.
Ah.
I don't think there is a woman in that game with a chest smaller than a D cup.
Mm.
And Enfield has a little bit more character design variety, so but it's a I want you to is you're never gonna guess what three genres this gotcha has mashed together.
Okay.
It is a hack and slash
Okay.
with tower defense mechanics and Factorio.
All right, that's a very unique
one of the
combo.
main mechanics is you get a big zone to craft stuff and you build an automated factory.
What's the name of this game again?
It's called Arknight's Enfield.
Huh.
But it's pretty good. That's mostly what I've been spending my free time with is that.
Yeah.
Reading books, but I'm not gonna tell people about the Horus Heresy, which I've been reading some of.
I mean,
Heard me complain enough about it.
I have been enjoying on the Adeptus Ridiculous, the podcast.
Oh yes,
they've been doing the Siege of Terra. Here's the thing: every time up till now I've heard descriptions of the Siege of Terra, it made me think of like a siege in space, like, you know, Horus's fleet over the planet.
It's bad.
But no,
it's rough.
It's apparently like they actually landed on the planet and were like,
oh yeah,
you know,
like
engaged in like a bloody war. And
it was almost the end of humanity.
That I have to admit was a lot more interesting learning about that.
I do recommend the Siege of Terra over the Horus Heresy. You don't really need to read the Horus Heresy to understand it, which is good because they're still making Horus Heresy books.
Yeah, it certainly has been like interesting hearing about that in a lot of ways because it's definitely one of those things. Thinking about it, it's like it's presented things in a different way for it, and I'm like, I'm not going to lie. I don't know if I love those books, but hearing about them at very least is a good summary. It's
it's definitely better to listen to the good parts of these books because it's still 40k media, so there's still a lot of chuff in the books.
Yeah.
So a lot of plot points I personally dislike, like anything to do with perpetuals.
Yeah, like they've brought up a few things that are like, that's in the book, that's interesting, and also why is it there?
Yeah.
But no, that's been very interesting. I don't think there's been like anything on, you know, any like interesting videos like I can point out on YouTube or anything. I'm like trying to think if there was anything I watched that was very interesting because I do want to watch the new season of Freerin, but I just haven't gotten to there's like 2 episodes out now. I got to catch up on that.
Yeah, I tend to just wait until like anime is done and then I'll watch it.
Same. That's why I don't watch One Piece.
I have caught up on One Piece. I can say that safely. I did catch up.
I tried at one point in my life and I stopped around like episode 150.
I'm not gonna lie, like watching it in blocks of like 50 episodes does help. Now that sounds like a lot, but when you consider I can sit down and watch like 20 episodes in a day, that doesn't take a lot because I tend to watch anime more than like at least 1.5, sometimes 1.75 speed, you know, depending on the anime.
Lord.
Look, I adapted to reading subtitles really fast. Also, by only subtitled, though I guess English would probably be easier for this entire thing. But again, this is adapting it into my own brain. Years ago, when I was squeezing in anime on like various trips when traveling to college, when I was on like things like a bus and I had to like, you know, you have to watch it muted, so you have to like just read the subtitles and kind of like adapt things or have like headphones on or something like that. And I remember because the only way to play a good anime, and this is old phones, we're talking flip phones age. I had to take an episode of anime, use a program to adapt it to play on my goddamn PSP.
Oh yes, hell yeah! What were the little like portable DVD players you could get in like the early 2000s? You remember those?
Those were expensive. That's why I had a PSP, because I was foolish and got one because I wanted to play Third Birthday. which wasn't worth it.
That's I mean, you did get the better handheld, but you did pick the worst reason to buy it.
I know, but I love Parasite Eve,
Look,
and they
chat,
gave me that.
people today will never understand how cool the PSP was.
It was a pretty interesting system. Needed another joystick, but pretty interesting system overall.
Had the weird UMD discs.
They were very strange. It was quite a thing. So yeah, but no, I don't know if there's like anything coming out this season. I haven't really looked over like what's out this season to know if there's anything very interesting.
Yeah, I just don't watch a lot of anime, or if I do, it's like on the background while I'm cleaning.
I usually try to pick out like 1 or 2 series a season that are like good, at very least, and keep up with those. And that's kind of what it is for me, because it's just way too much nowadays. They put out tons in it, you know.
There's
just
too much.
insane.
I'm gonna sound like a curmudgeon. I don't like modern anime for the most part. I feel it's a lot of it is. I'm gonna sound like Miyazaki for a moment. I feel like a lot of anime is devoid of creativity.
It isn't necessarily, but I think it is a lot of like middle ground stuff. There are no like everything is very just middle of the road, and they don't have a lot of like Freeman, very top tier very often.
Yeah, Freeman is very good.
But like
Dungeon Meshi, amazing.
Yeah. There are other series that I can kind of talk about that were very
Pluto, which is the sad robot anime.
It's
also very good.
I have to look up the English name, but it was I got the full batch of it and watched it. Saigo no Himitsu Dake Onegai. It's the May I Ask One More Thing, Please? I think it is, which was very fun because it throws that kind of entire genre of, you know, the girl that gets basically condemned by her fiance with another woman or something, which is like a trope in a lot of anime now, but she just kicks everybody's asses then afterwards, and it's actually really fun, you know. So, you know, that was like, oh hey, you took something, you made it very interesting, you threw a genre on its head, which sometimes they do with some of these things. There are some, like, you know, they do a lot of isekai slop, but occasionally they come out with one that's that's interesting.
Everything's an isekai technically.
Most of them are, and it's an old genre technically. I'm looking at you like Magic Knight Rayearth. I think there's another one older than that, but God, it's been around forever. But it's just got.
That's the other complaint I have about anime is too many anime now do our title is actually just a slight plot summary title, and I hate that. We barely get cool titles anymore.
Yeah, a title doesn't need to be small, but like, you know, it doesn't need to be like a sentence. It can be a phrase, you know. That's the thing, is like there is a level of not too long or too short, you know, in there, but like, you know, when it's like 2 sentences combined together and you're like, that's just a little too much. Even if your whatever you have isn't bad, you've already lost me for a billion years of talking about something. But
that time I had a girlfriend, and then she dumped me, and then I made friends with a demon.
That's like 20 anime right there.
That actually
I know, that's kind of the joke. That's why I'm like...
I think the most interesting thing is, like, I've actually been tempted halfway to try out Hytale.
Is that the not Minecraft, but apparently
yeah, I ended up watching Reign of Varus, his playthrough of it on the VOD that he had of it, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm like, this looks like just better Minecraft. And like,
I remember when Riot bought this and then canceled it.
And it's the thing,
like fools.
I don't think I would play it on my own because I don't play Minecraft on my own, but I like playing Minecraft with friends. So it's just like one of those ones because you can play with people. I'm like, I think this is just better Minecraft. I would like to play this with friends. That's the kind of thing
Minecraft is one of those games of its ilk. Those games that I'm like, I own these. I'll install it once a year, play it for an hour, and be like, that was fun, and I won't play it again.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right. Okay. Honestly, the one Hytale is good. I've heard good things about it. Honestly, the Minecraft side thing I was interested that I'm like is a vintage story.
I've seen people say that's a good one too.
I've heard good things about that one. I just haven't watched
I
it,
very
so maybe.
much like that we've hit a point where people are like, "Man, I don't like what Minecraft's doing, so I'm just gonna make a better version."
Funny enough, I'm still fine with Minecraft.
I don't play enough to know why people are like mad at it.
I think just because it's now like changing too much, if I had to guess, because like it used to change extremely slowly, but now it's changing like they're actually trying to push out updates to keep it interesting, which in a sense is actually kind of robbing you of what it was. But that's the idea, at least. It's still fine though. Like most people still like it.
Yeah. I think the only thing that surprised me. Okay, we want to finish up your thought about this.
Oh, I was about to say. Also, I know the modding community kind of is annoyed because people want the mods in the most recent version, but they take forever to update, and they're coming out with versions too fast. So the modding community doesn't like how fast they update stuff.
I understand that. I do understand that. Yeah. Look,
I wonder if they ever actually haven't kept up close enough recently, but I wonder if they ever did implement the modding API stuff that they said they were going to.
Who knows?
The only other thing that really surprised me this week, which it's something that I'm like, I'm probably not going to watch, but I'm at least half interested in it because it's sort of like something past my time, but close enough to my time, was I didn't know they were doing another live action He-Man until this week.
Yeah, they
funny enough,
the trailer dropped a couple days ago, right?
Yeah, because that's like because I'm very much late 80s, early 90s when I really remember stuff, get into TV and things like that. That's my youth theater there. So I'm right past He-Man, but I'm also kind of on the edge of it there too. So it's sort of like I think like my brother has some He-Man toys because he's a little older than me. I think he has like an old Castle Grayskull.
That was a Transformers kid.
Yeah, I was Transformers too, but I was Beast Wars.
Fair.
Yeah, that was my
yeah. So, first time I found out about there was another live action He-Man was the meme where someone said, "Oh, they're coming out with a live action He-Man. Oh, that Skeletor looks cool. Oh wait, it's Jared Leto."
Please stop. You gotta stop putting him in things.
You really do.
Didn't know about that because you didn't have him do anything except during it, the trailer. But also, I'm going to say,
Skeletor works for him, I think.
Yeah, I can see that then too.
That works for him.
Yeah, I'm going to say, isn't it just kind of? Was it Jupiter ascending? Isn't that what this is? Just in a He-Man skin? Because then they send him to Earth. Like a
lot of things are just Jupiter ascending.
I want to watch Jupiter ascending. I feel like it's referenced a surprising amount in
popular
culture.
It's really bad.
It's one of those things is if you want to watch this to understand the meme, but not for good.
It might legitimately be one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
You want to know what's so funny though is just how like good the CGI for it was, if I recall. That's what I'm thinking of.
It's like
it did look good, but
they
it's just bad.
They put a lot of effort into a story that existed. I think that's the best way to story it. It was a story that existed. Was it a good story? No. It existed.
It lost out to SpongeBob, I believe, at that box office. Not even like a good SpongeBob movie.
Wow. I mean, it's one of those things is like, I've never been a person for SpongeBob. So it's like, was there... I wanted to joke, was there ever a good SpongeBob movie? But I'm sure to the people that like SpongeBob, there was a SpongeBob movie. Like, I was kind of at that end where I was like, I catch cartoons in the, like, the back end. So I saw some of the early SpongeBob, because I'm still kind of like the age when I kind of would put something on just for like...
The amount of SpongeBob I've consumed like the first 3 seasons. Okay. I've seen the movie, like the original movie. Mm-hmm. And I've played the movie video game. And I'm going to be honest, they are like a fever dream of ideas. that I feel like I needed to take something illicit to actually understand what was happening.
I'm gonna be honest, like, so, yeah, SpongeBob, I've seen a surprising amount of it because it was basically my generation, is when it, like,
It
came
was
out,
mine
started.
too, but we just didn't have Nickelodeon on our cable
I didn't
package.
either, but I still saw it plenty at my grandma's house who did have cable. We had the basic channels.
Yeah, so we had that as well. We didn't have a lot of cartoons.
Channel 5.
Look, for me, the main thing that I remember, because I had a lot of years of it, it was the only thing on for a lot of years that I could watch in my situation I had, was a lot of Disney afternoon. When I'm talking about like Aladdin, Gargoyles, kind of things like that, the TV series versions of them. That was a lot of what I saw, and some other series around those times. But
we mainly had Cartoon Network and like Boomerang. So I've seen a lot of like really old cartoons, and then anything that was on Cartoon Network.
it was just because of like the setup with my parents' work situation and kind of like looking after people and stuff. Like I had to like have a TV that only had like basic cable on it, so I couldn't be like around like a place where I had like the full cable when I'd be normally at home. So it's like I could catch stuff on Cartoon Network. It'd just be like after like when it get to the evening where everybody's like at home and stuff like that. So I couldn't catch it right away. So it's interesting. Anyway, so well, I guess that's a good summary of everything going on our week and some interesting topics. Let's do a quick roundup of some interesting RPG news that we're just going to kind of like, I'm going to just kind of give a couple topics here, not kind of like dive into them. Because, I mean, I'll share articles, but just mentioning them is enough. So, hey, D&D's collabing with Fortnite. We're just going to leave that one at that. Unless you want to say something.
I actually want to comment on this.
All right, then I will turn it over to you if you want to add something into this.
Because when I saw this on the docket, I actually looked into it a little bit.
Okay.
So basically, it's okay. You may think like, oh, what are they gonna do? Put like a D&D sword or something?
Isn't it like they did for The Simpsons, where they had just a whole ass island thing for it?
Yeah. So their whole thing is the islands, which are basically more just adventures. Like I remember when I played Fortnite a lot when it first came out.
I think everyone really like did, even if they don't say they did.
Well, that's the thing. What I find really side tangent, really interesting is I really liked the actual game, and then they eventually axed it. But the islands, like there's like parkour islands and stuff, and so basically what they did is they made a whole adventure that you could play as like an island. So again, the islands are basically, think of them as what's a good way of describing it? Yeah, basically they're like they're basically so the islands are kind of one of the ways you can see as islands is like creator content. Kind of like how Minecraft has had the like creator worlds where you can like make an adventure and people can actually pay for it. It's kind of like that, although I don't think any of them are paid for. But anyway, it's like that, but it's an adventure based on D&D.
Okay. That doesn't seem
Yeah.
terrible, but
One thing I'll add as just a fun fact, back in 2017, when I was doing game reviews freelance, I reviewed Fortnite, and I still think that the original game was better than what we have now.
Agreed.
I'm not gonna lie, my only experience with Fortnite was many, many years ago in my early time streaming. A friend of mine, Will, who was on some of my early games, was like, hey, do you want to see, like, look into Fortnite? Because I think we were doing some, like, PUBG, because this was early PUBG, and then Fortnite came out. And we tried it out to see if that was something, because that was becoming more popular than PUBG. Not that we were streaming anything for like, popularity. It just was kind of fun early, games. Though, I'm a person that, like, I react when I get shot in a game, almost comically.
I played Siege with you, I know.
That's
so
hilarious.
I was doing that like PUBG and stuff. And Fortnite, it was still backdooring build. I'll just leave that there. That was my last experience with it.
Backdoory build? What?
During build.
Back when building was a thing, I guess, right?
Oh, yeah, no. That, I mean, I stopped before they got rid of that. So.
But the last thing I'll say about Fortnite is truly, I'm disappointed that It's not skins because I can't brain Vecna in the back of the head with a sniper rifle as Peter Griffin and then do the L dance.
Yes. Yep. So we're getting some interesting stuff from the Blade Runner RPG. That's the second thing I've got just to mention here in this little like
Good
round of
RPG.
stuff.
Very much recommend it.
Yep. Just getting some the asset pack and solo mode that they're going to be releasing in May. And the last thing is we're getting a Secret Wars expansion for the Marvel RPG, which feels appropriate because basically the new big Marvel movies are going to be based around Secret Wars. So, yeah, they're coming up with stuff based around that. Yeah, there you go. There's our little.
Yeah,
bit of,
I forgot there was a Marvel RPG.
Honestly speaking, I half remember it too, because it is actually kind of Marvel doing it. So I haven't heard anything good or bad about it. So, don't know. It's one of those ones that I haven't heard a lot of people trying it out. Well,
put it on my list.
We got some interesting news topics to talk about. I wanted to dive a little bit more into, and now we turn ourselves over to that. And the first one here is, of course, after 25 years, Steve Jackson Games is putting out an actual second edition of Munchkin. I mean, it's been forever, and this is like one of those card/board games which has been around. Like, if you mention Munchkin, it's not quite Catan. It's not quite. There's a couple of those early ones from the big revolution of board games. Like, you know, this is early 2000s, late 90s, when board games really became a thing. You know, Catan, Settlers of Catan, is one of those driving marks. But I think Munchkin was another one that, like, if you're talking about,
it's a big one,
a staple. And I haven't had a second edition for ever. I didn't, you know, it's like one of those things you don't realize that they've just been doing reprints or the mess they've been doing alongside of it, but no.
Look, there was part of me that had a little bit of hope when you said for the first time in 25 years. I was hoping you would end that with they're stopping.
I was wondering if you're gonna say they're coming out with GURPS too.
No, of course, I did see a news story about GURPS 4th edition. I guess they're just reprinting more of the 4th edition stuff again, but no. So, like, here's the thing. It is meant to be backwards compatible. They have like a big designer things here in the thing. Improve the classes, improve artwork. Apparently, they are getting rid of some of the jokes from 1999 that were funny
It's
at the time.
probably like good.
Yeah. And they did get rid of, like, because they're not paying attention to gender as a thing in the game anymore. They've gotten rid of that as like a curse because that kinda was a thing in the early game. If you don't know, you played as the.
I bet if you look back at those cards, there's some real racist stuff on some of them.
Yeah, it's 99. 99. It's one of those things. I don't think it's going to be like overt, but there will be some things that you can like take a sit back now and say like, okay, I see why you removed that. Certainly speaking. Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
The 90s were still pretty bad.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie though, too. Like, the actual like cards look really nice in comparison.
They do. Like, frankly, I know I dunk on Steve Jackson's games a lot, and rightfully so. They make a lot of trash. But when they actually put effort in something, they do put a lot of effort into it.
Yeah. Like, if you look at the original Munchkin cards, I wouldn't call them black and white, but they didn't have, like, the full colors that we have here. These are, like, very vibrant. They're very colorful. You know, they're not as muted. The backs look a lot nicer. I think that's a big thing I can kind of say out here. Everything seems like it's, like, more colorful and out there, too. Yeah. Apparently they also have, like, an big box upgrade set, which is if you hadn't gotten the big box previously, that I guess they had released of like a lot of the Munchkin things, it's a way of making that compatible with the new second edition. I guess it's a fine thing to do too, you know, update that. Man, it's one of those things that I look at that I'm like, just, jeez, it does reflect upon the evolution, at least, of the genre in a lot of ways, of like what we've seen in tabletop. And I am surprised that it took them this long for a second edition to a degree. Certainly speaking, we've seen a lot of other board games that, don't come about second editions that often or ever. But this is like one of those games that, like, because they've been like supporting it so long, it's the core of what they started with. And I'm surprised they didn't, like, sure, they've been reprints, but it's just the same old game every time. And yeah, kind of grows old. Then you've got like much better stuff, much more newer. I don't know. Like, certainly speaking, I think, like, look at, like, I think even Core Settlers has had some evolution to the way things are played, or Ticket to Ride or stuff like that. These, like, games that have had a lot of years to them. Carcassonne, I think, is another big ancient one from that time period. I'm trying to think of any, like, even Flux, which has been around for a while too. Like, it's a name that I hear around or something like that. Like, these ones have had evolutions to them, and this one kind of didn't. I don't know. Are they behind schedule? Maybe. Steve Jackson Games. You never know what they're going to goddamn do it. At this point in time, I can't predict them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly speaking, I don't know if I would purchase it, though. It's one of those things, is like, I bought a lot of Munchkin games back in the day, but they got to that point in time where I just couldn't keep up with them, and yeah. I like the looks of it.
Yeah,
I like the game.
For people who like collecting, the product vomit is honestly kind of detrimental, because you will get some people who stick with it, but I don't know. I feel like you lose people after a while.
Yeah, definitely.
People only have so much money.
And especially now when that's getting even smaller.
I thought of something else to add to the docket that blood vomit, but I'm going to quickly look up just for a small thing. There we go. But yeah, so there it is on Polygon. We'll grab that in a minute. But that's the Munchkin thing there too. All right. So I wasn't originally going to have this as a deeper topic, but it has something very interesting on here, which was kind of like a fan thing previously. I wanted to talk about the Star Trek Species Guide here a little bit. I'm going to link to the entire thing here, because this might be a good sign for Star Trek going forward, because we might get some interesting things that are outside of here. Certainly speaking, there are species on here that are weird. They've got a Horda. The big weird blob monsters from first edition for original series that were supposed to be joined Starfleet, and you were supposed to be able to play them, kind of, but they never really had stats for them, and they've got, like, weird rules. But they got them in this book here. And I'm actually really happy about that, because I'm like, there are going to be really weird alien races. We've seen that, like, in Starfinder is there. I think Star Wars embraces it a little bit. They're not as bad. Star Trek has always been really bad at the weird races. It's always oops, all humanoids. And granted, a lot of the stuffs in this book are humanoids and stuff too, updated for the second edition. But there's a couple on here that I look at that I recognize, that I'm like, well, that's actually kind of interesting that it's on there. And I think this is a good kind of, like, direction for them in that way. But again, like, I don't know if, like, there is a lot of lore for other stuff though too in Star Trek, because I think it's like they always just do oops, all humanoids. I mean, they did for a lot of their series too. I guess it's the advantage Star Wars had. It's like they could have a lot of that
Star Wars had
crazy makeup.
You also, like, bigger budget for most part.
True.
Wasn't always at risk of being literally canceled the next day.
Yeah, the original series was obviously the worst, because literally everything was a guy in a suit. But the next generation had a good amount, had some weird stuff that was actually really fun. But I don't know, the weird stuff was always practical effects, which rather than, like, and I'm not saying that's bad. I actually like practical effects. In many cases, practical effects are better than VFX nowadays. Because VFX is a whole crapshoot. Those videos about it. But I still feel like they didn't lean into that enough. And they kind of went for, oh, everything's, still kind of human because humans genes the humanoid genes are spread throughout the galaxy by a super
Yeah.
primitive or super advanced race in the
But
past.
at least they explain it to you, and if I choose to ignore,
I mean, like,
because it's dumb.
Again, the book also, like, I just was looking through the pages they're providing here in the link, and they got the Breen and the Makar, which is like crystal like scales on top of them. These are really interesting looking alien races. Yes, they're both kind of humanoid, but the Breen are also like weird too because they're in suits all the time. But again, like, it's at least a little bit different, you know.
Yeah.
The Makar look kind of like a rock person. I don't know if they really are. They kind of look like that. It's rock dude.
Yeah, so here's the thing, the animated extension did have some, they were still humanoid, but they were a lot less human-ish,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. They're a lot humans with a hole in their ear or whatever, that the original series was. And then you've got, like, I feel like the time when they really went into weird things was Lower Decks.
Yeah. No.
I think that's the first one where they had some really weird stuff.
I think it's one of those things is where it's, as I say, when it comes to sci-fi, I think when you have interesting, like, a lot of different species, alien kind of choices out there, you really start having to look to an extended thing. Like, as I said, you know, Star Wars always had the budget to kind of do it. We've seen Starfinder, and I'm glad that, you know, especially with the series now, and we can see it reflected to a degree in this book, Star Trek is beginning to catch up. And I'm going to say, like, this is a lot of reprints of Ancestries from first edition with some new stuff, too, that now you can play if you really wanted to in your Star Trek adventures.
A lot of stuff are humanoid things that you've seen before because it's still... But I still think that's fine because they're just... going over
the one thing I'll always praise Star Trek for, even if a lot of the costuming is very goofy, Star Trek, by making everything humanoid, did avoid the Star Wars problem of, we need an alien for this scene, go grab some crap from the art department, throw it on something, and then 10 years later, that thing that was in like 5 seconds of a movie has like a book-length wiki page.
Yeah, like, I do feel like Star Wars suffers from, like, a degree of, like, having to figure out things. It's kind of like, it's the different directions. We have Star Trek, which didn't really try very hard because they didn't have the budget, but made things work. Star Wars, which, as you're saying, like, they threw things together and had to figure out how it worked. Or then, like, as I guess then when we talk about, like, Starfinder, because it's a very alien-rich sci-fi RPG, they could just figure it out because they're building it as they go, you know? And that's the thing is, these were building on more, not tabletop franchises, or, like, you know, they're building off on a different type of franchise to begin with, and then moving into games like this and other stuff like that, or expanding the franchises. And they do have a little bit more trouble with that.
Yeah, I mean, let's be real. Things based off film and movies are gonna have a completely different feel than things built. Like you say, Starfinder. I mean, if you look at Traveler as well, Traveler's super crazy.
Yeah. I know like some of the aliens from Traveler, but I never dove as deep as I know you did. But that's another good one. But yeah.
Yeah, I know. Literally, one of their core species is a radial species that it has like 6 eyes, 6 limbs, and it's all. I could hold on. I forget what they're called. What are they called?
Well, it's like I'll also say, like, they do have some very fun ones here because, like, looking at this here, they only have 5 of the Zindi species, but one of them is a Zindi aquatic, which is like a big whale creature. You can play a big whale creature on a spaceship. I love that. I'm the whale that if we need some aquatic planets, I can whale. I can, like, you know, project to you and kind of like make whale sounds that'll be translated to you. Ooh, or something like, I don't know. I don't remember how they were on the Enterprise, but you know, I love this is interesting stuff, you know. It's at least it's better. Anyway, so very happy about this book. and I'm happy a lot of directions Star Trek Adventures Second Edition is going. I'm giving a big thumbs up on this one as a fan of the system. Again, like I do think like they've developed the system a little bit better too, as they've learned from some of their other 2D20 systems. I think when they came to the Second Edition, they kind of went back at it, and fixed some issues.
Ivor, that's what they're called.
Yeah. And there's one last big topic I wanted to kind of hit on today, and that is, of course, drive-through RPGs increasing their prices. Now, just not any prices, they're print-on-demand prices. And it's going live on February 1st. So this is kind of an interesting one to kind of look into, because I wanted to talk about this because we kind of talked about how, especially D&D Beyond, is becoming in a lot of ways a competitor, much more so with drive-through RPG. And we've also talked about how drive-through RPG, as much as they do have their policies on AI, it's not perfect, and they stuff slips through the cracks very often. So they've got a lot of issues that are now, and this price adjustment, it's coming on top of that. Yeah, it's for physical books and not PDFs, noted, but like, this is a thing that, as an RPG player, I love a good physical book. I'm not gonna lie,
Mm-hmm.
I kind of like, it's when it's. I have a couple over here next to me. Look, I've got the Player's Core right here next to me. What was the other one I got next to me? GM Core. Hi. At least sit next to me over here. Do I use them very often? No, but I've got them next to me because those are the games I'm playing running currently. Just because in case I need a physical book. I do forget sometimes I have them when I'm looking up rules. It's like, oh, I could go there instead of Archives of Nethys. Nope, forget about that sometimes. Yeah.
I mean, it does mention labor is one of the rising costs. I hope that means they're paying people, but
things are expensive. I do imagine Roll20 probably still has to pay off some of the debt from acquiring them in the first place.
Roll20 bought them?
Roll20 does it. Yeah, they bought them in 2022, and the deal finalized in 2024.
Yeah,
I did not realize that.
So I imagine that could have something to do with it, but also I just imagine things are getting more expensive.
Yeah, I mean, it's they are
understandable.
kind of basically saying that if the price of the materials goes above, they're just going to increase it, and they're like, make sure you check your prices before the deadline.
Yeah.
The global economy is not great at the moment.
Yeah.
No, cost of living crisis.
Yep. It's like it's an understandable thing, but it's also like it's just stuff on top of stuff that's going on for drive-through RPG, and it's like I don't want them to fail as a competitor against whatever D&D Beyond is going to become. I think there needs to be a competition here for this. I think like drive-through RPG before didn't need a competitor. It wasn't trying to do anything that needed a competition with. Beyond kind of is in a position where they kind of need a competitor, I feel like, because they're very much more all us, rather than, just a platform for stuff.
So, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. If you
I describe it as Steam versus Epic, maybe. Steam versus Epic. They're different things entirely.
To be fair, like, that's the thing. Steam doesn't need a competitor because they're committed to, like, being decent people.
That's what I kind of felt from the original drive-through RPG as like a concept. But it's like execution isn't always as good.
Yeah, I mean, it's just drive-through RPG I think was fine before. It's really the AI thing, which they just need to rein in, because they really need to start doing like verification steps, because basically it's right now it's just kind of up to the people can say whatever they want when they upload. They can lie, and there's no checks for it, and that's really the big downside. It's not but they didn't really need that before, and that's kind of the problem. Is it's like a new thing that they didn't need before, because like to make, you could still make trash, but before you had to make the trash.
Yeah.
And that was fine, but I mean, I guess they had some verifications probably for like stolen stuff, but who knows?
Hey, look, I'm not gonna lie. It's definitely one of those things is that, certainly speaking, hopefully the next couple years can see this horrible bubble break, and maybe some of this stuff can go away. I don't think it will get rid of it. I'm going to be honest. I think there's stuff to stay. But I think it's going to be like a lot less pushed in our faces as the big companies have been trying to do, especially with they can't build data centers, and what like the Microsoft current CEO was like, so we can't just have slop. We actually have to do useful things with this. Please do that, people. And everybody's like, but we love our slop because that's what makes us our non-immeasured money.
That man's a big reason why everything's bad.
I know. That's why I hate him. Also, I hate Microsoft.
I do want to say I saw a poll. It was some company did a poll. I don't remember who it was. I don't think it was an AI company, but it was someone who basically they did a poll, and it was 93% of people said they didn't want AI and stuff. 93, and that is, here's the thing, I need to find this again, because that's high even in a community that's statistically that's very high, even if it's a if it was a tailored anti-AI community, you still might only get 80. It's
the amount of overwhelming dislike of this is pretty universal. I'm sorry to say, anybody out there, it's, again, if we were talking 5 years ago, there was this core concept of stuff that could have gone in great directions, but again, all the companies went for greed, and it's fucked it over for them, which I'm fine with, because they took, I think we talked about the worst directions this could go. You know what happened? The worst directions this could go. We're like, hey, this thing, not great. There's some good again, there are technically good uses for the AI things, like calculating things like DNA and stuff like that we can get done a lot faster than we could do before. There are good things for this. We're just not using it for that. We're using it for shit art and shit writing and stuff like that.
The problem is AI is bad at basically everything it actually does.
Generative AI, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Generative AI, which is the bad AI that we're talking about. Obviously, machine learning, which has been around for a very long time, is fine.
Mm-hmm.
Generative AI is bad at just about everything it does.
Yeah, honestly, the big thing I'm worried about is the hate of AI will affect, self-driving cars and stuff, because those are well made, but they're built for a purpose.
AI is becoming a dirty word in a lot of ways, and unfortunately, it's generative AI is really which is really the bad thing. And a lot of the other types of AI that should be developed, like machine learning and some of the other kind of things, aren't necessarily bad, but they're all being lumped together is the problem.
Yeah. That's
That's
why I make a point to say generative AI.
Yeah,
I try to too, and
there
people
is
have been
good
making a little
uses.
bit more. Yeah, people have been making that distinction a little bit more. But yeah. Okay. Here's one of the big things that I noticed that I was trying to look up different polls. Basically, one that's super high is people want to know when something is AI generated.
Yes.
I'm looking at a bunch of other stuff, but it's, let's see. 94% of people think it's important for things to be noted as AI versus human.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely agree. Anyway, so there's Drive-Thru RPG. Some price increases here at the physical books for print-on-demand stuff, but that's another thing coming in for them. Hope it, it's what was needed. While I don't have any...
I do want to say Paizo also kind of done the thing recently. Same with D&D.
Yeah.
It was kind of coming.
It's just printing costs are getting more expensive.
Yeah. So there's two little things here for the TCG mini section. The mini section would include Warhammer. I don't think I got anything Warhammer, but
no, there's no Warhammer. I don't think there is. I can double check really fast.
Okay. The first thing is we do have a kind of half update on the promo leaks from Lore and Eclipse. Magic's just spoiled all the Ninja Turtle rares now. So they put it out there. They made a mistake. All the rares are already out there. Hey, that probably hurts Lore and Eclipse a little bit. Accidentally. They didn't do it on purpose this time, at least. So people are talking about all the cards from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles now instead of a much better set. Anyway, there's also a lawsuit going against Magic that just we know about from this week. Here's a Polygon article about it.
One thing I want to say about the accidental release is the reason it's more the reason it's probably more talk of the town is because it was a mistake.
Yeah, I'm sure. So a bunch of
That
shareholders
doesn't
are
stop it from being bad. but-
are like pressing some charges or suing Hasbro because a bunch of shareholders are like actually have taken. These are the shareholders of like a bunch of them are basically suing because they're like, hey, you know what? Product vomit is a terrible idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's basically part of what this entire thing. The brand is getting damaged. So the lawsuit is against Chris
Very
Cox.
damaged.
Yeah. Again, it's shareholders that are doing this. So it goes to show you how out of touch Hasbro is with this entire thing. They're doing it for the shareholders, but not really listening to them.
Well, that's because they're it's a very short-sighted strategy.
Mm-hmm.
You want to know what I also find weird? This is the second time Hasbro is being sued by its shareholders in recent years.
Doesn't surprise me with how they act.
The first one was around COVID. They basically they stocked up on a bunch of products that they were gonna like use for like during COVID, and they lied about what like they were doing when it came to stocks, and they were sued by their investors.
Yeah. Again, it's like Hasbro's doing bad, and they're crutching on Magic, and the shareholders think that they're doing this, that they're going to destroy the long-term value of the brand of Magic without necessarily saving Hasbro. So they're kind of like, hey, maybe save the company instead of relying on this, is a way that this kind of like lawsuit sounds like too, you know?
Yep.
It's you think that would be smart, you know? So we don't have a lot of information on the entire thing yet, but got some.
Yeah. So basically it's just interesting like that. I'm curious, was Chris Cox takeover before or after the last lawsuit?
Ooh. Chris Cox, when did you take over?
The Hasbro misleading investors was
Are you the same Chris Cox? No, I'm spelling it wrong. 2022 is when he took over.
okay. The problem is I'm getting only like this new stuff.
Former president and CEO, COO was the Coast. Later took past the place Greg leads in 2016. He was the new CEO in 2022 of January. Yeah. Not gonna lie, like he's done a lot of crap that just
Plaintiff's claim
doesn't sound great.
Yeah, so 2023. Yeah, so they stockpiled 20. Yeah, okay. So the lawsuit was in 24 about the stocks dropping in 23 due to stockpiling, overproducing goods for around COVID-19.
Chris
so
Boy,
it's kind of I do feel like it has been Chris Cox this whole time being terrible.
I'm sure.
Nice.
Like, you have to consider that his time at Wizards wasn't going in a great direction either. That's when we got into a lot of Universes Beyond. Secret Lair was under him. The initial ideas of these came into being under him. Granted, like, they weren't accelerated to this degree, but basically when he took over Hasbro and became the top dog, he also then relied on that very heavily and pushed the ideas that probably he was part of the spearhead behind. You know, you can kind of see that. So, I don't know. Chris Cox. Wonderful guy.
Yeah, super cool.
But, yeah.
Did find two Warhammer things that are probably worth talking about because they're neat. New kill team got announced. It is a kill team Shadowhunt. It's the Night Lords. Though this is a bit of a weird kill team because usually, two kill teams are announced at the same time. Usually,
Okay.
the way they're advertising kill team Shadowhunt is that they're going to be fighting the Nightbringer Catan Shard. I don't think it's gonna go well for them.
Yeah, I was like thinking about that. I was like, aren't that like a shard of an unkillable god?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean it's canon that the Night Lords lose everything they do, so it's fine.
Well, aren't they kind of awful anyway? So they deserve it.
They suck. But yeah,
Yeah.
the there's going to be special kill team rules for the Nightbringer,
Huh.
which is interesting. I find that kind of cool. I'll post that one here. But the other thing is one I found interesting that I didn't hear about. Typically, Warhammer, specifically they're talking about kill team right now, is fought on one map that's a single plane. They're adding rules for verticality in maps to have 2 floors or more.
Okay.
Because they're adding jump pack characters into Kill Team.
Interesting.
So you can traverse levels during your battle now.
Okay. I guess that kind of makes
And
sense.
they're bringing it in with the Shadow Hunt, which Night Lords famously do use jump packs a lot.
Yeah. Like, Kill Team always sounds like a much smaller scale thing to me anyway. So it does make sense in a honestly futuristic setting, like fighting in some buildings. There might be like multiple floors to that building,
Yeah.
So.
Kill Team, I am a big proponent of Kill Team being the more approachable game. Because it's cheap. It's cheaper. You don't have to spend $1,000 minimum to play.
That makes sense.
It's a simpler version as well. The rules are a lot more simple.
It's basically like the rules light, smaller team, a little bit more compact
like
army.
40K is a war game. Kill Team is XCOM.
Okay.
And then Necromunda is like a tactical RPG.
Okay. Again, it's like one of those things. At least they do have multiple. Like it's the same thing with like I gotta be honest with like Magic, where you got multiple formats for the same things. I feel like that's the games that I think have done a lot best. Like there's some that are exceptions, of course, but I feel like that always helps in a lot of games where you have multiple like options a lot of times for all these miniatures and stuff like that, which is kind of neat. So. Though I assume, like, if you're playing Necromunda, you're not going to play with a lot of, like, weird miniatures. It's got its own things.
Well, Necromunda has its own weird miniatures.
Yeah. It is, like, one hive city full of, like...
Necromunda has, like, the coolest looking miniatures for 40K.
Yeah. Scum and villainy.
Also, I did double check. I double checked the Chris Cox, like when Chris Cox and when the lawsuit was about. So basically, Chris Cox joined in January 2022.
Mm-hmm.
The lawsuit was about misleading information leading towards people buying more stocks from February 2022 to like 2023 somewhere.
Okay, so basically, he might not have been he was in charge during that time.
October 2023.
Yes, he might not have been in charge of the original plan, though, because I'm sorry, in February, probably the groundwork had already been laid, but certainly speaking, he kept up with the plan, at very least, even if he didn't come up with the idea.
I don't know. Lying about something is very much something he had full control over at the time.
True.
They could have just said we overstocked things. And
well, I'm just saying
it's maybe a crime.
It probably kind of is, but again,
that's the lawsuit. I get,
it's one of those things. Is like corporate crime is very hard to like nail down very often.
Yeah.
So it's lawsuits
like we
are
need
the easiest way.
I do feel like we need to put people in jail for corporate crime more often, though.
Oh,
yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, we do. Actual jail time instead of just charging the money.
I mean, there's a fun argument I heard, which is, someone murders one person, they can go to jail for a very long time. Someone deprives 1 billion people of their livelihoods, and they get like a slap on the wrist.
It's only if there's a fine attached, it's only a crime for poor people.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about our topic this week, because it was an interesting one that I thought about discussing after what happened on Fall Events. It turns out Fall Events inspires me to do stuff. So I wanted a topic of RPG hooks that aren't quite hooks, because that's the kind of thing that I did, because what I mean is when you're establishing world building or, you know, setting a scene or doing different things, sometimes you include details or stuff which could be explored sometimes, or is, but it's not meant to be a major hook for your players, but then they hook onto it. That can be both a problem or an interesting kind of turnaround. Because as I told my players for Fall of Abenswell, I would have adapted if they got through the problem that was in their way, but it was a problem that was meant to be something that was going to be overcome. Actually, technically speaking, like, it was, there's meant to be either an easy way in there in the original way I wrote it, or they would have had to come back around your level to try to overcome it with enough time, you know. There technically was a way to find the key, but it was like a little mini quest that I set up in my original writing, you know.
Okay. So, here's the thing I want to ask. Was the thrumming that we noticed based on the door?
No. That was the Dread Army basically doing a stomp and like basically outside, like 10,000 fold, all like chanting and thrumming together and like, you know, like doing an entire thing, and it was causing the earth to shake.
Yeah, okay. And this is where kind of the issue came from, is we weren't sure what the thrumming was.
No one went outside to see.
Well, we were literally in a dungeon underground. We weren't going to.
No one went to ask if anybody else was encountering it, though, too. You all were like, you know, well, it's here. It must be something related to us.
We observe our surroundings, and then you give us another hook, and we're like, maybe it's related to that. So that was kind of the issue there.
It was an issue there, too.
How you hooked us.
Again, I understand. It was just all this setup of, because I'm using, this is a city that I did for a different game. There's some details about that are kind of a little different. You know, some things are changed around. But there was these, like, technical... this is a different set of ruins that are under here. And they are technically, like, different ages that are here. Again, the entire idea is a bunch of different civilizations built stuff here over the years for reasons. I'd have to look into all my notes, because I do kind of have some reasons as to why. But again, like, I'm not going to lie. Being at the entryway to the gigantic, like, valley to another continent probably is a good reason to have civilizations here in the first place, now that I think about it, you know.
Well, also, now that we also know it's to prevent, you know, crazy monsters from coming in from, you know, the other side.
Yeah. There's definitely good reasons to have something here, and other civilizations probably have in the past. You know, this one just happens to have been like, the entire idea was, while digging out the dungeon, they found this door, this area, and then, like, the original Duke was like, you know, let's just seal this off. There's, like, evil down there, let's just seal it off. There's problems down there, you know? And so that's what happened, you know? But, again, like, it's this entire idea. I created a hook accidentally in a kind of ways with this pre-established things that you guys could have explored. It really wouldn't have gone anywhere. It would have just been some extra maybe combat, some things you would have encountered, stuff like that. But it was kind of this weird false extra hook that kind of came into being.
Yeah.
You know.
I honestly think the big issue, one of the big issues, is that you just played it up too much. You could have literally just said, like, this is something for, it's like, you guys can sense that this is something for another time. You know? That
was something that I thought about towards the end. It was kind of one of those things that is like, it's again on the spot. This comes down to, you know, you are improvising on the spot and stuff like that with information you have.
Also, it's towards the end of the session when there's a whole thing about decision fatigue, where GMs have to make so many decisions that it really wears them out.
Yes.
So
it was an interesting thing because it's sort of like it's one of those things that was very hard to get across. Is sort of like everything you're talking about to the normal man is crazy. You've been on crazy adventures which no one would believe, and you're trying to like basically use it. Towards the end of that session there, I was like trying to back you away from it because I'm like, you're pulling a Joe with when he basically went to the random guy and was like, they're infiltrators. When you're
okay.
I'm like, you're doing it again. Let's not do this.
I don't know. That one was different because that was literally Joe just making a mistake.
Joe was worse. Joe was worse, but it was kind of going in that direction. But anyway, we'll talk about that later.
Oh wait, are you talking about me pulling out the thing was bad?
Yes, the artifact and stuff like that. Try to show it off. But anyway, we'll
I mean,
talk about it.
I honestly think there were two reactions to that. I get that it's crazy power, but not everyone's instinct to crazy power is fear.
My entire thing was for that, was at very least, to kind of summarize this here, is it's massive armies on the way, very powerful, crazy stuff has been happening. Like, everybody here is on edge because they're like, we're probably all going to die. And then you're showing off something like that, it's
Okay. Yeah, but we're showing it off and saying we're going to use it against these people. That's kind of a thing. It's perspective. That's where my brain went.
Okay, I see where you were going with it, but we'll talk about it in a minute. But anyway, getting back to this entire thing, it's the entire idea that as you're going through it in your venture, sometimes you either in passing suggest something or purposefully present something that is related to the world that you are building that then players latch onto, which could be a different story. Now, granted, sometimes you have enough that you could go on that extra story. Sometimes you don't. And then, it's, I think we've talked about steering your players a little bit, because you kind of do, but kind of don't also. And I think that kind of becomes the issue with there, especially when you get them in a hook. When you hook your players, even accidentally, getting that out of them, can be very difficult. It's like, you hooking a fish. Whoops.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to throw my line there. Or that was the wrong lore, something like that. And I feel like this was a moment that it happened.
I'd have to go back and watch the video, but I feel like there was a point to know for certain. But I think there was a thing where is that the Dread Army? And you're like, you don't know, with the thrumming, which made us go, okay, maybe it's not.
I think I could have presented it better. It's I think
go and ask might have been a better response.
I think it would have been
go and check.
It very well could be. It is a rhythmic thrumming that perhaps an army would have. That probably the better words to say. But again, I think we were back into the session and I wasn't, I was just being
like I said, decision fatigue is a real thing. And I saw a whole video about how to try and the best thing you can do as a DM is to make a bunch of decisions ahead of time to limit your decision fatigue. There's a whole thing about that, but anyway, it's I'm not blaming you. Joe was so mad about it. He actually texted me separately and was like, "Oh my gosh, I hate when he goes and creates these whole things that mean nothing." And I'm like, "Oh, come on."
It wasn't meant to be, but I think I was presenting things badly at the end there too, And
I agree. I agree it was a mistake, whereas that's where I'm like, calm down, Joe. I was just like, yeah, it was kind of weird, but whatever.
Because if you think about it, the majority of the crazy things you've done are because I've presented little hooks and you've chosen them. I wasn't planning for half the things you've done because I've allowed the things you've done to explore them in a lot of ways. But it's the thing that the thrumming was supposed to be the army, so that's why it was supposed to be a warning that you didn't have a lot of time, and that was the entire point of the thrumming. And I think that's why I had to add something else to be like, hey, you don't have time for this, at the end there.
Yep.
Which was
and that was kind of the whole thing. Is just it was weird because that's the thing. It's we heard thrumming, we weren't sure what it was. You didn't give us a good indication that it was the army, which is what our original thought was. So we looked around more.
No. Your original thought wasn't the army. Your original thought was it coming from below?
Oh, you're right. That was our original thought.
Yeah, that's why I think the army came up in passing, and I think I just passed it off because I think I was just trying to get you away from latching onto it was coming from below.
Yeah.
But I felt like that was the latch on that I was focused on, and I think that was also a problem there too. Focus.
Yeah.
End of the session. But anyway, back to the topic. We can always hit up on this when we talk about the session a little bit more. Are there issues that either of you have had when it comes to kind of these things that have had trouble when you've either by chance or accidental, like, or by chance of like just the way you establish things, or by like saying something wrong, kind of like formed hooks that like aren't necessarily something you were ready to explore. I think that's a big thing too, is like, it's not that they couldn't explore these hooks, but like sometimes you're like, I'm not really prepared for this.
So definitely has happened to me. Typically happens when I'm reading over my like session notes, then like little script that I prepared for certain things. And I've read either the wrong part or it's an old edit, and then I have to go back and be like, all right, guys, I messed up. Please disregard blah blah blah. That's not a thing.
Yeah. It's one of those things that, like, I guess the two ways to do it are the kind of way I did in Fall of Avanswell, which is trying to like steer your players away. But it's also like you can just you really could take a pause and out of game be like, hey guys, this was world building, not something for you to interact. You probably
Like,
can just take a step back and say that. You should know you need to do that.
fully have done this in my current game where I've simply said the wrong NPC's name and didn't realize it till later.
And I think that's another thing that, again, you shouldn't be against doing, which I should have done, is, I should say, like, hey, I should have just presented, like, hey, I will tell you now, you could find something beyond this door. It's not important to this mission. It will not affect what you're doing now. If you want to try pushing for this, there is technically a time limit going on. It's just kind of like saying that kind of like out of game, like they're like, this might take up your time.
In my current game as well, because it's in the same region as another game, and Rivers had this issue in his game too, or her game too. Our stuff comes up pretty frequently in each other's games, and we both had to be like, right, there's some world-ending stuff going on over there. You can't do anything about it. Don't go over there.
Yeah, that is a thing. Like,
That's someone else's D&D game.
yeah, you really need like. Yeah, I mean, I feel like the issue is that you had a few opportunities to say now's not the time for this, and you just can't let us keep going. That's kind of the big thing. But as far as times where I've done something like this, there was one time. The closest thing I can think of is where I had players who like basically tricked this one NPC several times, and he was not a stupid NPC. And he's like, okay, I don't trust these guys anymore, basically. And so he just blatantly lied to them about a plot hook. And then the players put it in their back pocket. I completely forgot about it until like way later when they're like, oh, we're here at that place. Is that thing here? And I'm like, wait, what? And because I'd completely forgotten about it. Because they hadn't brought it up in a while.
Yeah.
So that was an example of a plot hook that I set accidentally. And then I'm like, guys, I didn't prepare for this. We can't do it. Because I'm just like, I completely forgot that I had lied about it.
Yeah. It's interesting because like you try to present to players information that is good for them, that establishes the world, that fits within the idea of both being malleable but still set in stone to a degree. It's that entire world building thing. Is like, yes, the world has places where you kind of mal it around, but you try to have like a solid core because that keeps the world established. And sometimes those players kind of like think something is part of that kind of malleable edge and it's not, and then you kind of like get into problems there. They're like, oh, I can pick on this, and I'm like, no, that's a wall you're hitting. There's nothing there. There's nothing there. And I know it is one of those hard things, I think, to do, to take that step back and be like, hey guys, I've got to talk to you not as the person running the game, with your characters, but you as the players. You're barking up the wrong tree. And I think, that's something I think I sometimes do, but not as much as I should do.
Yeah, I agree. Because that's the thing. It's a game where you're talking to each other about what you see and hear and stuff. There can be there almost is always going to be a disconnect there.
Yeah.
Where like, because that's the whole thing. It's like, you may be presenting something that we see as more important than our characters even would see it as.
Yeah.
You know? Like, because we were told, go as deep as you can, which, you know, made us go, oh, is there something deeper? Is this what we're supposed to do? And you can say, you know, and you can go like, you don't feel like this will get you any more meaningful, any meaningfully closer to what you're doing. You know, like you could just say that. Like, you don't even have to say this isn't a hook. You could just say that going down here will not meaningfully affect the outcome. You know,
the depths that you would go to would not be any much deeper than you are now, and therefore it would not have any like meaningful use. You know, you can't get close enough to what is down there with this. Yeah, that would be like you get the feeling of that. But again, like it just ends up being like sometimes hard to express properly. And you know, like again, I do think end of the session, all that kind of stuff. And you know, that this as an example is an interesting example of it. But again, I can think of plenty of times where, like, honestly speaking, things can evolve in interesting ways with these ideas. You know, it's not necessarily a bad thing when you make these mistakes. It's just like, you know, you have to understand, you have to be ready when you are talking about stuff for when you can react to these things. Are you going to build a next part of your adventure off of this thing that you just by happen did? Or is this something that, honestly speaking, you can't use, you know, for the way you're establishing things? And, you know, you would ask those questions, and then, you know, it's how it always is. It's a cooperative game, but it's a game too. Yes, you like acting in character, but sometimes you have to take a step back out of that character and be ready to toss your players and build stuff with them.
Yeah. Here's I feel like there's a related topic we can talk about, just because I think it also is related. Hooking something and your players biting the hook way before they're ready. Like, let's say you see a dragon flying in the distance, and you were like, no, that's for like as like a hook for later. Yeah. When your players are level 1 and they're like, oh, we saw it, therefore it must be viable. You know, a viable place we can go. That's also something you got to worry about. Yeah. And again, I feel like another big thing is just say, your characters feel like that is way outside their wheelhouse. You know. So, and I know sometimes people don't like it when you like put the words in your character's mouth, but I don't know. It's more of a feeling you would get if you were in that situation. You know,
something kind of similar to this. I've also dealt with this because I don't really like fully write out my D&D games. I usually do like, here's the start and here's roughly where it's going to end eventually, and then the rest is me reacting. Usually reacting to what the players do. There are times where I have set up plot points, and then mid-game be like, I'm not going to do that anymore. And then if players are still pursuing, and I do have to be like, the plot point's not really going to go anywhere. Sorry if you wanted to explore it, but I didn't really. I kind of stopped writing that bit. It didn't feel interesting enough. Because there are times where you write a plot point where you think in the moment you write it, this is a good idea, and then you start exploring more. I'm like, this is kind of whatever. It doesn't push the game along. It harms the game more than it helps. And you just kind of axe it.
Not gonna lie, I understand that because I'm not. I can point out a plot point. The entire like replacement plot line. I had a cool idea for it, and then we got into it, and you guys latched onto that so hard. And I was like, well, it's not like it wasn't a plot point, but like it was the people replacement plot line.
Oh yeah. To be fair, I didn't like. I knew that was a thing in the city, but Joe was the one who like was like, oh, it's still a plot point, and I'm like, no, probably not actually.
It really wasn't a plot point to begin with. I wasn't, until you hooked onto it, I kind of used it a little bit, but it was never meant to be a major plot point. It was meant to be a major plot point just in the place where you found that guy. You know, it was, like, the thing is, it was supposed to show off that it wasn't a very successful experiment. It wasn't very helpful and stuff like that. But it became a plot point by accident, and I played around with it a little bit, but I tried to be like, it's not really a plot point, and you brought it up a lot.
Okay, but
Joe brought it up a lot.
originally, but here's the thing, like, yeah, no, Joe brought it up a lot. Like, I mean, I brought it up to the to like the Birchlings people.
Yeah.
Because they did actually, like, we were reporting to them and we found this thing. It may be important.
Yeah.
And then they were the ones who were like, okay, go and find a way to test, you know?
Yeah. I mean, I think that was like fairly reasonable level of it there. Like,
Yeah.
and when they were like, well, it seems like there was a little bit of it there, but it really wasn't a thing. There was like a half dozen people. I think it's also like you saw part of a story about what happened to the swamp barns.
We solved the problem. I don't know why Joe is still so
Yeah, you solved the problem.
suspicious.
I think it was also the stuff that happened to Swamp Larns, where you saw like the guy betrayed everybody, which was a thing that happened. But the thing is, like, you only got part of that story of like why he did it and stuff like that, and it's sort of like assuming that like that would be an easy thing for anybody to do, you know, and sort of
but
like.
also that was like actual spies, not weird spies. That's again why. Okay, this was a thing. They were experimenting with it for this place specifically, and we got a way to solve it. That was kind of the point. Like, I feel like I was on your page a lot more in that section. Like, I thought it was a thing, but once we left the Birchlings, I was like, okay, cool, we're good.
Yeah, because like at that point in time, they were technically going to be in your territory. They did not need any more infiltration. They're probably just going to attack. You know, it's the positioning of the Birchlings was pretty defendable. So they were trying, like, you know, so you can understand them, like, doing some things to do that, you know. But once they're in, not so much, you know. As much as Avonswell was a big stone castle, it has a lot of fields around it. Turns out that's a really great place to, like, siege and attack, you know, rather than a forest, I just say.
Yeah, Joe was the one who thought it was still a problem after the Birchlings. Like, I did think it was legitimate, potentially, or it was a potential issue. And that's the thing, when we got our second mission to go and deal with it, I'm like, that did reinforce the idea that it was an issue. But outside of the Birchlings, no, I didn't think it was an issue.
And again, that's kind of like one of those things is you don't really know when people are going to hook on to something a lot of times. And that is not necessarily, again, it's not necessarily a problem. I managed to make it work a lot, but like, I'm not gonna lie, it did shape the adventure in many ways. Like,
yes.
You going back out was not something I necessarily was planning on originally, going back to there. And then, like, everything that happened when you got to Avonswell was shaped by this. Because, like, you know, Joe was still playing that up. And just talking to random people about it who may not have been, like, the best people to talk about it, you know?
Yep.
And
yeah. No, and that's the thing. I think it would have been fine to, like I honestly, my whole goal was like, we can look into it, but I don't think we should bring it up to the people until we know, because that's the thing. You could be, like, let's say there are duplicates. You could be talking to one right now, and they could do stuff, you know?
Again, I think this comes down to the fact of players are very often unpredictable in a lot of ways. You know, you never know what people are going to latch on to. And this is a big, like, showing off of that entire thing. I did not know what you were going to latch on to necessarily. And you can present a lot of, like, information and plot lines and storylines, and this works in more than just this place here. You know, it's sort of like you can only provide players with so much information, and then the question of how they react to that information is a little random, you know?
And that's why it's improv.
Yeah, it is. That's at its core why it is improv, and why, like, you as someone, even if you're not, you don't necessarily have to be great at improv. I think that's the easiest way to say it. Is like, you do not. You don't have to have that kind of focus as being great at it. But it's kind of that idea of you have to be able to at least to a degree, act off each other, and understand each other when you're doing things.
I think the improv is not like a thing. So improv is just something you can do. Improvisation is required. I mean,
I think I'm saying it wrong. Yeah, maybe you can say
yeah, because it's not like you're good or not. Like, you can be good at you can be good or not at humor improv. Humor improv is a whole different thing.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Ultimately, improv related to D&D honestly is more practice. It's more of a learned thing.
I was basically thinking about like the better easy able off to like play off each other and like read each other and understand when and where to say things and stuff like that, which I guess is sort of the same thing, but like
kind of. I mean, that's more of a social awareness, which there are people with autism, so that is definitely something that some people struggle with.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie.
An autistic friend who plays D&D, and he's totally fine. But he can be a very annoying when he just interrupts people in the middle of stuff, and it's like, okay.
I think it's also like different people, different levels of social understanding and stuff like that too can have an effect on how you play. But the thing is, when you're joining D&D, you are joining something that's going to be a social thing to a degree. Maybe even it's just a couple of people. You're usually there with people that you're at least friendly with and stuff too. So you got to be ready to kind of play off each other in a lot of ways. And I think it is also important as a player, on the other side of that that, your GM's fallible. The person running is fallible. Be ready for them to make mistakes or to say something wrong or to give you an idea that's the wrong idea, And, if it's the same way. It's like if they actually take a step back and like, we're like, hey, I made a mistake and confess to it, be ready to accept that. And I think that's the other thing too, is both like you as the GM have to be ready to like be like, hey, I made a mistake, and then like you have to be accepting of it. That's the two sides of the coin. And as long as that's there, if we fine with shit like this, it's like, as I said, I probably should have been a little bit more honest with them and like, hey, you can explore this. It's technically not going to help you at all. It's not going to give you any other bonuses. It's going to be more just like extra time and fluff. And it's not going to affect this at all. And like, there is technically a time crunch going on. Hey, there you go.
Yeah. I do want to say, like, I think when it really comes down to it, it's just like, I was like fine after you were like, oh, it's not actually a thing. I was like, oh, okay. I feel like you could have had it sooner, but in the end, it was fine.
I think I could have said that a little better too. It's like I could have been like, hey, this was not a required thing. It was a thing that was here, but it wasn't something that you were required to do, to keep going forward.
That's also probably why Joe is mad. He's like, oh yeah, it's a thing that wasn't actually a thing. And I'm like, it was, I think, what he thought it was. Where it's like, you led us on to something that was never going to be a thing. But it's like, not could have been. It just wasn't appropriate.
It wasn't a necessary thing. I think it's the easiest way to say it. It's like, it could have been a little bit of a thing, but it would have been like, an extra area of a dungeon that has nothing when you've already found what you need from a dungeon. It's sort of like, it's kind of like with that. It's like, oh, we've already found the MacGuffin of the dungeon. We could go over there and like check something out, but I'm like, there's like nothing over there. Sometimes there isn't. Sometimes you go to all the rooms that have stuff, and because when you're building a place, you don't always have stuff there. Sometimes when you are building a location, you want to put stuff in there that is good for the story of the location, not for exciting exploration. And sometimes that's left over. And sometimes players still want to check that out, and you have to be like, there's nothing there.
Yep.
You found everything you were looking for.
I mean, I feel like something you could have also done that might have been nice is just the wizard replying back when we asked the cat, and just being basically like, it could have also just been like, yeah, those were sealed away, and those aren't the ruins you're thinking of. Like
having the cat speak would have been better, rather than just meowing. I think or like having maybe telepathic communications or something like that there too. Yeah. Again, things you could have done. But I guess since we're before we talking about things that we could have done, because we'll loop back to talking only a little bit more about Fall of Habit, so we hit it up a lot here. Why don't we hit our last little bit of a few? I got a few more little bit of news things here for our last section, which is just kind of some board game stuff, which I'll throw out here quickly and efficiently for anybody that's interested to share. There's a Terminator 2 board game on the way. Cool, great.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah, that's kind of a neat one to play on. Trying to, I guess, avoid the T1000. Apparently, there's also a Tecmo Bowl. So we're talking like the original football game from 1987, kind of like we're getting a board game version of that. That's kind of neat, I guess, if you like football. And hey, we've heard back from Cmon. They've kind of stopped a lot of operations with the everything that happened with the tariffs hit them hard, but they are trying to finish up their crowdfund. So if you actually followed a Kickstarter or backer kit of Cmon, they are still committed to finishing up their things, even though things have kind of broken down for them to a degree. So good on them for at least fulfilling stuff. There we go. All right. Should we talk about our tabletop related stuff we did this week? Woo! I guess we can start. Over on Sunday, I know that you and I, Worm, had Joe's game, which it took me a few minutes to remember what happened. I thought about this earlier, then I'm like, we had Joe's game. What did we do? We explored. I think it was it. Didn't we? Did we do anything else other than explore that dungeon that we have? Was just like,
it was the whole weird maze puzzle thing, and then we did dungeon exploration a bit.
I mean, it looks like it's interesting. I'm not gonna lie. It's again one of these things. Is like everything looks cool, but I feel like it's like a pacing issue. I feel like at this point in time, we just fought like.
Oh no, we literally jumped to it with like nothing in between, and that was stupid. He just dropped us right into it. It was all like, okay, you're here. It's like, okay, you guys know you need to go here, so you're here now. And I'm just like, what?
It was also a little bit of like we had just fought this like equivalent like to the boss before the final boss, because I'm sorry, the Shemeshka fight is the boss before the final boss at this point in time, you know. So it's like we are like super beat up, you know. We've recovered, we've managed to get back into it. We're kind of rebuilding ourselves, and it's like, oh, another dungeon. That's like, really? Again,
I'm
on the
fine
surface,
with the dungeon, I just felt like it was just, you guys know you need, like I like, it's like, oh yeah, you guys need to go here. You know where it is. You're here now. Like, you couldn't have, like, that was whiplash. Like,
I think
we didn't even narrate going. Like, we went back to our base, yes, but then we're like, oh, you go back to your base. This is happening, and now you're here again. It's like, what?
I think it was both of those things
like, just
that got on me about it.
Then go.
Yeah, it's. I think both of those things got to me a little bit. Now, I'm not gonna lie. I do think the entire thing is interesting, like the puzzle aspect that we have to like find these pieces of a statue and assemble them to kind of go forward. That seems interesting, and kind of like it's a little bit of a puzzle that we have to solve, and we have to go like, you know, do these different things to get the pieces, and there's some like trials we have to overcome. That's interesting. It's just sort of like we did get thrown into it, and I feel like I would have been better about this also if there was like padding in between that explained this entire thing a little bit more too, because it's just sort of like we know this is where we have to go, like,
or just, you know, getting some information like, we know we need to get something from here, but that was honestly glossed over in like a lot of other stuff happening, and I feel like that could have been expanded a little bit more and actually talked through, and then we could have been like, what do we want to do, and maybe made some decisions instead of literally being railroaded into this dungeon.
Yeah, I do feel like the railroading into the dungeon was pretty heavy there, and I think that's the better way of saying why I was kind of feeling like a meh about the dungeon to a degree. Again, it seems interesting. It's just like I'm just not connected with it very much, because I think there's no story behind it, and I think for me the tonal whiplash of I don't have something in between that points me from the Shemeshka fight to this, that it feels like we're just kind of being dumped in here afterwards, and I'm like, this is like, it's too much of a tonal whiplash for me, I think is what it is, you know.
Yeah.
I would have liked something to be in between there, to like connect them together.
We just needed like a half an hour of us like actually, you know, like talking about what we're gonna do next, going over what we have, you know, like letting the players talk instead of jumping right into the dungeon. I agree. Like, again, it was fine. We solved a puzzle. I solved a puzzle.
Again, it's like it's not a bad dungeon just by looking at it, and it seems interestingly made, and that's what I kind of say about it. It's like, this seems neat. Mm-hmm. Also, again, like I feel like the concept behind it also felt like this should have been like a while ago. Like, again, like it's maybe if we had a little more establishment of like why this place is important. Without that, it feels like it's just like this is a dungeon we would have done like 3 levels ago or something like that.
Yeah, like it literally came up in the Shemeshka fight. We literally had no time to process it, and like everything else we were processing was completely unrelated, and suddenly he railroaded us right here. It was so weird. It was, again, it's fine once we got there, and like everything else was fine, but it was just like this. Why? Why did we do? Like, why are we here again? We didn't discuss this. We were just suddenly. Okay, it's like, okay, so you're at the thing. I'm like, why are we at the thing? When did we get here?
Reasons.
Yeah. Like, I don't even remember. I still couldn't tell you why we're here, actually. I could check my notes. Maybe I wrote it down.
I'm trying to think, too. I think
are we trying to get, like, my thought is, are we trying to get the last key piece? Because I know there was a final key piece. I'm just like, who told us this? When did we hear about this? Was it Shemeshka? I think it was Shemeshka who mentioned it, but I don't remember. It was so passing.
I really don't know why we're here. I'm definitely going to say that. It's like, we're here for reasons. I'm just not sure why. So, and again, like, as I will state, it's an interesting dungeon. It just feels like out of left field in my mind. It's like, well, we're here. Anyway, so that was our I think we next, unless you had something else, Worm, we both had something on Wednesday. So I'll turn it over to you, Momo, for anything you had.
So we had my Monday game, which was a lot of combat. They fought a big fight through a necropolis to get into the area where the villain is. Then they proceeded to fight a CR-14 Death Dragon, and a bunch of wyverns, which went all things considered pretty well. And then they went and faced down the boss, who was a CR-16 demigod, and they won relatively fine. A couple of them almost died, but that's fine. That's what I aim for most of my combats. Also, they're literally fighting the final boss. And then they were greeted to the very cool sight of the second in command just shooting the boss with a big gun and killing her, finishing her off, and then that's where the session ended.
Interesting.
So someone took some opportunity to maybe seize some power.
Well.
Also, the giant rift in the sky opened up, so that's bad.
That sounds like it would be very much troublesome. Big old sky rift.
Yeah, they get to deal with that now.
That's your problem now.
Assuming people have electricity on Monday.
We'll see how things go on Monday. I mean, like, it's not going to be bad enough by me from what they're projecting that it'll knock out like power, but it must be like
it's going to be pretty bad here, but not bad enough to lose power.
Yeah, I think I'm supposed to get like between 1 and 2 feet overall, which isn't terrible. It sucks, but
it's about the same here.
Ugh. Snow. Ugh.
Lots of snow.
Ugh.
Lovely.
Not looking forward to it.
It's supposed to get up to 78 degrees on Friday.
That sounds nice.
It would be nice. We're going to be like at the...
It's like -5 outside right now with the wind, I think.
That is... Oh, that might be around where I'm with the wind. I'm like, what is it with the wind? I'm like, I don't know what it is with the wind. Yeah, I am... not too bad right now without the wind. I'm 14 without the wind.
With the wind, you might be in the negatives.
Yeah, we're supposed to get down to 8, and then I love how the entire, at least yesterday was the coldest it was going to be, but I like how Monday through Friday, the evenings are all going to be 7 degrees. This is going to be 7 across the board, 7, 7, 7, 7 every evening. It's just like, wow. Anyway, how about Tuesday? I think you usually have.
So Tuesday, we're doing our third and final objective to cut. To basically encircle the Thrune ruling Kintargo in, so he cannot get out nor call for help. And that is to close the mountain pass, which we learned that the fort in the mountain was built by dwarves, and those dwarves have a magical failsafe of, hey, should this keep fail, press this button and we'll blow it up.
Ah, that feels
Which
dwarven.
I think perfectly reasonable
I mean, it does
for a
feel.
defensive structure to have that.
Look, it feels.
Press button, deny enemy.
It does feel very dwarven, though. So if we can't have it, you can't either.
So we had to infiltrate this fort. Well, we had a very long conversation with how should we handle this fort. There's guards inside. They might be innocent. How do we want to feel about that? 3 of the 4 of us immediately came to the conclusion they're Chelish. They're not people.
Yep.
So yeah, we went in with like the idea of we're gonna murder everyone in this fort because they're evil. We had a very long discussion of how do we get into the fort, and then we all remembered, oh yeah, we have flying abilities because we have an alchemist who can make potions of flying. The topic of a small derailment came up because we have a folding boat which lets you produce a long ship. Of what happens if we just activate that and drop it on a bunch of soldiers?
Mm-hmm.
So we did a lot of theory crafting how to deal with this fort, and we went with the good old idea of just lying to get into it.
Yep.
So we went in to meet with the commander, who believed our first lie, and then our sorcerer rolled a natural 1 in his bluff check. So the commander didn't believe the second lie. Commander ignites his big flaming greatsword, rolls a 1 in his initiative, and dies in a single turn.
Yep.
But so Lightning has an elk as his ranger companion. It's come up before. The hallways in this fort are very narrow. They're the 1 tile wide. So they snuck in invisibly with the elk who was also invisible. So there was just an elk skulking through the hallways of this bastion for a little bit before sneaking into like a barracks where they just started murdering people who were sleeping. So some people woke up going to bed with their nice nap, waking up to just a large-sized elk in the room, a 6-foot tall elf with a great sword, and then a hobgoblin throwing grenades at them.
Yep.
Yeah, so it's going great.
I'm not gonna lie. This has made me think of some other shenanigans that, like, look, I was long ago. I was shot down about the sky baleen whale, which I'll just say it's summon monster. They do specify you have to put a creature where it can survive.
Yeah.
And technically, a whale can't survive in the air. Technically, so you can't sky baleen whale, but you can sky elephant. How can you do that? If you have some kind of floating thing and you summon an elephant on it, and then push your elephant off, you can plummet an elephant into something. And it's horrific, but it won't die. It'll just be unsummoned. Yeah. Everybody it will hit will die.
I did forget the way that Joe and Lightning's characters got into the tower was because the elk is large size. 2 people can ride atop it, so the elk was fed a potion of flight. So there was just a flying elk for a little bit. Yeah, I can't imagine being just like a guard on this 2nd floor, and then your commander is dead. All of your guard friends come rushing down because some people came out of nowhere with a giant elk and killed him. And then an Aranist showed up and was like, "What the hell's going on?"
Oh.
I don't think the adventure path quite expects us to be this goofy.
No, but it's good. It's good. Look, I actually had discussions with people about the entire summoning shenanigans. So this is like, something I understand. Is like,
yeah, we actually did like our due diligence with the boat idea of like, would this even work? So we had to look up like a lot of magic item rules before we were all just like, this is too complicated to actually worry about.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of rules in Pathfinder. Turns out there isn't a rule for dropping a boat on people.
Sometimes there isn't. Then you just boat people.
But yeah, we're gonna fight in earnest and blow up a fort.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Also, Joe has the worst rolls I've ever seen someone roll. The man rolled like 4 nat 1s in a row on like his stealth checks.
Sorry,
He
Joe.
can't catch a break. Dude
No.
can't catch a break.
No.
He's first off, you're a hobgoblin, so your life already sucks in this world, and now you can't roll anything.
I mean, I guess after here, because the Iron Fang invasion's not happened yet, technically, as a time period, then it gets better, because you could technically be there. Or you could be doing a game in TNZ where there's like a couple of
I mean,
places for hobgoblins.
his character is a former slave whose noble house we do maybe want to work with to fund our civil war, which is going to be an awkward it's going to be an awkward meeting when that one happens.
Does sound pretty awkward. Ugh. I think we most hit up what Fall of Avonsville had. I think like there was getting into the city and meeting with the people there, but like
I mean, I want to say that that whole part was actually kind of very railroaded.
Well, it was an entire thing of like
I get why. I feel like you could I feel like though we were pretty turned down.
Here's
at
the thing.
everything we
Here's the
attempted.
thing. You know why? You mentioned the completely wrong person. The
elf?
prince was the wrong person.
Well, how would I have known that?
Because you guys met him. He was an
yeah,
awful person to work with. You guys met this guy.
He was fine.
No,
Well,
he
his wife
wasn't.
was
He didn't
fine,
want to do
but
anything to do with you.
He
He
didn't.
was
but his
horribly
wife was
racist
fine.
and hated you guys. You were the only one that was
not
acceptable.
that bad.
Joe's like said, "I hate that guy." Yes, he was the only. He only treated you nicely.
So here's the thing, though. Who else was I supposed to met that was important?
the
The
dwarf.
Thane?
The
We
Thane.
didn't meet him. We didn't know the new Thane. The other Thane had died, and that we had a
The thing is,
one that we knew.
even if not, you could have mentioned that you're friends with the one Rockhammer. You could have learned about it, and theoretically, you would talk to him to go with his brother and help evacuate people. Remember, you talked to him about that. So if anybody would have gotten out, it would have been him along with Jonas. Or you could have brought Jonas's name, maybe because Jonas gets involved with stuff. Maybe they know him. You basically, of the people you talked about, you mentioned the one that was like, because especially, I'm going to tell you, with the way that the prince is, mentioning him was like, he wouldn't have asked for you guys for help. He's an asshole. That's the thing is, he was the last one people would have believed on that one. That's why they didn't believe you, because you brought up his name.
Okay, and this is kind of where I think we can go back into miscommunications, where it's all like, we're talking about something that I had written in notes months ago.
Oh, because the thing is, he also wasn't the one that sent you on this quest technically.
I legitimately thought he was. I
No.
thought he had a hand in helping us out and doing stuff. I remember now that it was more his wife that helped us. But we didn't actually end up meeting with her yet, which is why I think
you
it was
didn't have a
thinking of
chance
the
to.
prince.
He basically was like, he's like, fine, go talk to my wife, blah blah blah, and then you met with the dorks.
Yeah,
with Doric, and learned from. Again, I do think it was months away, and trying to look through notes that maybe you didn't have the perfect thing down. Again, it wasn't necessarily terrible to mention the Elven Prince, but it was kind of like you mentioned someone that put them on the confused foot and kind of looking at you, kind of scratching their chins, kind of thing.
I feel like this is one of those things where it's you as a player would know this would not be the right thing to do because you have a charisma of stupid.
It was the thing of I was second guessing myself about it too. Is maybe that's what you interpreted as rather than that's what it was. Because I was like, that didn't happen, but maybe that's what your characters thought. That's what I thought to myself. That's why I went along with it too. I didn't think it was just a mistake in the writing or something too. I was like,
I was
maybe that's-
digging through my old notes to try and figure out who we were talking to. Like, that's why I'm like, what was the
Yeah.
prince's name? Hold on, I'm checking, I'm looking. Like, I actually said that in the session.
yeah, I
Like,
know.
I was like looking.
It was a thing that
So-
like I did not know what you made notes of, so I assumed whatever notes you made was what your character believed. That's the kind of thing too.
Oh no,
like,
it's again, it's not. I like looking at it a bit later and like reading it over while we were continuing to talk. I'm like, oh wait, no, that wasn't all that great and stuff. But it's like I had already said it, and I was like grunting with. But it's like it was just kind of this thing where it's like I was jumping around my notes a whole bunch. I mean, I have 47 pages of notes for this
Yeah.
game.
It's ended up being a lot, you know. Again, like it wasn't like terrible, but I think it was a little bit more of an uphill battle that you had to like talk through some more people and stuff like that there too, because they were like, you know, I mean,
I was also down with, and here's the other thing too. I kind of figured, like, being associated with any royalty was better than none, but apparently not.
it was definitely supposed to be a lot more of the elves, especially under the prince, are probably not having a great impression on the rest of the soldiers and stuff too, you know.
Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like there are certain things like that which I'm like, and this is actually what's hard about me. And not to mention, I was so annoyed. The reason I even attempted the bribe thing was because I'm like, I just want to roll a social skill. Let me roll a social skill.
I wanted you to like. Didn't I let you roll some social skills? I thought
No,
you did.
I didn't roll a single social
I
skill
asked for
until
one.
I tried to calm. No, you did not.
Oh, I did. I asked for a roll. But I think you did. I think that's when you bribe instead of a roll. I'm like, hey, can you roll? I think I'm. No. I know what it was. I was like, okay, can you? Someone interrupted me. I forget who it was, but someone interrupted me when I was going to ask you for one, and then we didn't get back to it because I think I got distracted by the entire thing too. I was actually going to ask you for a persuasion check or like for a diplomacy check. I wanted you to roll something. I was trying to, but someone interrupted me with something, and we didn't get it then. It was like I got interrupted, and my train of thought got broken because I think we went down some other path, you know, like there.
Yep.
Oh my!
Yeah, that's why I even attempted the roll, because I'm like, okay, I've been going back and forth with him for like 10 minutes now, and I
Yes.
haven't had to roll or had any chance to. It's like, why am I the talky person if I can't do anything with my talky talks?
I wanted you to roll. I can't remember what happened, but I know like something happened that I was going to ask you to roll, and I got interrupted. Sorry about that one there. I was going to.
Yeah.
I was thinking, okay, we're gonna get your roll in here, you know. And again, that might have. I think it's sort of like just I went for like the middle of the ground kind of like result of like the thing instead of the roll because we kind of the way things went, but like a roll might have helped out a little bit too or something like that. I don't know. It's like
Yeah, you're good.
things went weird a lot.
So
that session.
anyway, I was just that was a weird session. You probably just like I don't know.
Maybe
I
you just,
think
like it's I feel like the whole session was a bit odd. I wouldn't say like you did a bad job, but it's clear you weren't fully in the game the entire session.
I don't know why it wasn't like a bad session like day for me. I think it was just like
I think it just happens sometimes.
yeah, and like I was thinking about it too. Is like I was not displaying a lot of the tension that should have been there as well too. I think there's like aspects of like how things were in the city and stuff like that that I wasn't displaying as well, and like what was going on at that point in time, you know. Maybe like you know, mumbles of like, you know, are we all going to die? You know, like certainly speaking when you were in the bar, there could have been like the soldiers are like, you know, to our last, someone could have been saying that there too. You know, it's like, well, you know, maybe we'll be victorious, but at very least we'll hold out to the end, you know, or some kind of like, you know, things like that. Because, you know, they could have been like, you know, thinking like, you know, we're soldiers of the borderlands. You know, we'll teach him a thing or two, even if all of us die. We'll take them down with us, you know, something like that. Because these guys are like, you know, they're like tough professionals out in this area, and so they, you know, you could have heard some of that there too, and you know, like I could have described some tension in the city, and I'm like, I didn't do that, you know, and I'm thinking about that afterwards that I really should have. You know, there's things I missed in the way I was describing things a lot too, but I think it was also like seeing what I was gonna. It was the thing that I forgot to do was because Windows 11 doesn't have a Word equivalent. I have to drag my old Word file documents into Google Documents in order to read them. I didn't do that ahead of
Libra,
time.
Download LibreOffice.
Okay, LibreOffice. I'm gonna make note of that. But I had not done that.
Yep, because that's basically that's free Word. That's basically, and that's the good one.
Cool.
Currently.
Yeah. But that was something that I was fighting with a little bit the entire time. It's like I had to like normally I would have been able to easily open up all these pages, but it was sort of like it was a couple of steps to look through different notes to like kind of upload things. So I was actually fighting with trying to like look through my notes for certain things sometimes too, you know, because I couldn't just it was taking a while to get everything all the way open, and I was like, you know, then when I opened something, I was working with it right away. I didn't have that time to like have everything open. So
yeah, I mean, yeah, it's fine. I like I said, it wasn't a bad session. It just felt very mid.
yeah, hopefully I can kind of pull things back together at the end for this last kind of one, because I think it'll probably just be the one more then. I think, you know, we've gone beyond a lot of the craziness, and it'll be like a good, like, I'm hoping I can kind of pull it together at the end is what I'm just gonna say, like there for the concepts I have. I hope. Anyway, anybody else do anything on Thursday or Friday? I think I was just on to the rest of the week. That was my week then.
Nope. I mean, I started making a new setting, but it's not very far along yet, so.
Yeah. Then I guess, Worm, we'll turn it over to you, because normally you have something on a Saturday.
Yeah. So I had kind of okay. It's so fun. I was actually very annoyed for like half the session today, because people just would not stop trying to decide what the best option would be. Because, okay, so to give some context, we're at a town. We need to find out about this town, because it's a town full of enemy people to the people we were hired by. We did some spying the previous session.
Okay.
But this session, we were trying to decide what to do next. And we have no information right now. Like, our previous spying thing was more just to test their limits and to kind of get very basic information. So we had, like, 2 names that we eavesdropped, and, like, basically the positions of, like, the, how the guards at the 2 entrances to the city worked. But we spent half the session just going, like, I have an idea. Oh, I have an idea. Oh, I think that idea might have a problem. Okay, what about this idea? And we just did that for 3 hours. No, wait. 9, 10, 2 hours. And even the GM was getting annoyed. Like, you guys need to make a decision. Thankfully, for the second half after our break, we did actually decide on some plans, with me pushing things along a little bit, being like, I wrote down 7 options that we have discussed. What do we want to do? And then we actually were able to discuss those options and then decide.
I mean, I understand
in the end,
decision paralysis does happen, but that seems like it was a pretty bad case of it.
I'm gonna be honest, it really does make it 10 times worse that we have 7 players.
Yeah.
But we decided just to kind of do a little bit of what we did the last time, which is, you know, the boring answer. More spying. But this is what the fun thing happened, where I did a ballsy thing and succeeded, and I'm so happy about it.
Nice.
So I went in, snuck in again by being an invisible, using polymorph self, and sneaking past guards and stuff. Because they only had a portcullis, no, like, other... Well, they did also have a door, but it wasn't very well built, and you could sneak under it as a lizard or whatever. Or a mouse, I think I was. But then when we were in the city, there's a whole thing where I wanted to get more information from people. So I'm like, I'm going to go into the houses. You know, and as an invisible mouse, that was fine.
Yeah.
But I then wanted to, like, do something else. So I wanted to get more information. Okay, I wanted to overhear. So I had Tongues, but Tongues has a verbal component, a semantic component, and it's and the GM ruled that the fluff that the material components burst or shatters would make noise, because that's what it says. The material component is a ziggurat that shatters when you cast the spell.
Mm.
So I had to use a spell called Vocalize to make it me have no verbal components for 5 minutes. So it'll last for 5 minutes, and I don't have to cast verbal components. It's a stealth spell, basically.
Yeah.
And then I had to cast, what I decided to do is to cast ventriloquism, which is kind of the same thing as it does in Pathfinder 2e, where it's like, sound at a distance, of someone sneezing. So I could cast the spell that would, shatter and make some visual noise and some visuals and noise and stuff. And then I could then cast tongues while in the, because if I cast tongues outside, tongues only lasts 7 minutes. So it's kind of like I would have had to get in, like go out, cast it, get in real fast, which would have been hard because I had to go through like several doors. So I decided to do this risky maneuver. And the GM's like, okay, I'm going to roll to see if anyone notices. And I passed, and it was a great idea. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, I'm so, like, that was so ballsy. Because you got to remember, this is 2e, where if I did that in the middle of a group of enemies and they found out, they could just stab me once and I'd be dead.
Yep. 2e is squishy.
Yeah. So, also would have, alerted everyone that there's weird stuff going on. Not that this didn't, but it's less, it's less suspicious.
Less
In fact, they were like,
less
I think one of
dangerous.
the, I think they're like, I think one of the drow is messing with us, Because that's the thing. There was a sneeze kind of, and then when people asked, like, did you sneeze? No. Did you sneeze? Wait, where'd the sneeze come from?
Yeah.
So.
Seems like an interesting session. All right. I guess that leaves us at today. Hope everybody enjoyed today. Let me just put it there. Hey, I hope this kind of switch around for things was a little more interesting for people. We'll see how I like it, or maybe I'll adjust things a little bit for like order of things. I'm playing around with news and order and topics and stuff like that, and I'll experiment a little bit. This is kind of my direction of I want to figure out what I want the show to be, and then I'll probably make a podcast version of it, kind of thing like that. So I'm trying to experiment with that before I put the podcast version of this out in the world. So, hey, let me know.
I bet you with the podcast bug, me actually prepping for one makes you think about it.
Yeah, it did, and we kind of talked about some things, and I'm like, yeah, I gotta rework stuff. I had it in the back of my mind, I just hadn't done anything about it. So, playing around with it a little bit.
You talked about it. I think at the beginning of last year, you were saying you might do something, but then you ended up not.
Last year's been a little weird. I've just been like oddly both busy and not busy in different ways, and I think it's just kind of like figuring out and readjusting my schedule, which I haven't quite mastered yet. I'm getting better at it, so that I've got time where I need it to be. I think that's the entire thing, is figuring out time where I need it to be. Anyway, all right, buddy. Thank you for joining. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know in comments about stuff. I hope you enjoy joining us. I'll be back next week. Hopefully one or both these people can join me again for that week, and we can chat about some more interesting topics, tabletop, and all those different things. And again, I guess check out my Worm. I'll let you have your shout out of stuff first.
I'm DiamondWyrm. You can find me on twitch.tv/DiamondWyrm, or at DiamondWyrm on Twitter and Blue Sky, and DiamondWyrm on YouTube. Next stream should be tomorrow. I don't know what I'm going to stream. I kind of want to do more of the Outer Wilds because that's caught my interest. But I could also go, and I do need to finish up on the Tactical Breach Wizards and stuff. I don't know. I've got a few games now that I have to decide between, and I haven't. Ever since adding in the new one, I haven't figured out what to shuffle between. So.
Yep, that happens. I understand this. Mama, do you have anything to shout out? I didn't ask. I should.
I do have one thing to shout out. Because I know I talk about Warhammer a lot, and I talk about the Horus Heresy a fair bit, but two of the bigger Warhammer lore guys, the Amber King and the Remembrancer, have started a podcast where they will be going through the Horus Heresy and reading it, so you don't have to read 60 plus books if you don't want to. They already have 9 episodes up, so they're working through it.
Look, having enjoyed some of the book summaries that like I've heard so far, like what was the Beast series? That was
Oh no.
thanks Adeptus Ridiculous for suffering, so I didn't
Luckily,
have to.
on average, the Horus Heresy is a bit better than the War of the Beast.
I'm sure. I'm sure. Like I think I've encountered the low point in Warhammer books.
We've encountered you've witnessed the lowest points of Warhammer media with Ian Watson and War of the Beast.
But anyway, hi. Tangent and Dracovin. I have links below, whether you're joining me on Twitch or YouTube. Both help me. If you're on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed. And hey, check out my social media, Discord's the best chest for updates on schedule. I'll be back next week. Got some tabletop topics to talk about. Got some Silk Song to play. Almost done that game. Very close to the end. And then, yeah, I think we'll figure out some more stuff on the schedule and stuff like that. I hope everybody's been enjoying stuff. I'll be back on Tuesday. See you then. And anyway, until the next time, I say bye and farewell to all of you. So long, goodbye.
Bye.